Welcome to Unity of Charlotte, where our mission is to nurture a deep and mature experience of God through the practice of unity principles. Simply put, we are here to love, serve, and grow, which we do joyfully. I'm Lawrence Tolliver, a member of our Board of Trustees, and I am so glad that you chose to join us today in presence in the church facility, on Zoom, and on YouTube. We're going to start our service today by sharing our statement of oneness and let that lead us into our opening prayer. Together, there is one presence and one power in my life and universe, God the good, omnipotent. Join me in prayer. Father, Mother God, we're so grateful to be able to assemble together once again, acknowledging that you are expressing perfectly through each of us, perfectly through all of creation. We thank you for your goodness. We thank you that you are all powerful. We thank you that you were here before the beginning and will be here forever. We thank you that you are omniscient. You know all things. We turn to you at all times as we practice our unity principles, as we meditate and pray. And we know that you are open, receptive, and responsive to each of us and to all life everywhere. We thank you once again for your goodness. We thank you for being responsive to us. We release these truths to the Spirit, which you are, knowing that all of the truth and goodness of life manifest right here, right now. And so it is. There are 5 principles that are practiced within unity. And I'm just going to give you briefly the title of each of those 5. First, God is good. I captured that in the prayer this morning. Secondly, people are good. God is expressing itself throughout all of humanity. Its goodness is available and present for each one of you and all people everywhere. Another principle is that thoughts create experiences. Those of us who are mature know that some of the thoughts we've had have led to some, how can I say, unacceptable results that we wish we hadn't prompted with our thoughts. Thoughts like fear prompt experiences that are not good. Just as an example, thoughts of God's goodness prompt experiences that are good. We also know that prayer is our connection with the Creator. And finally, we know that we have to act on the basis of that in which we have faith. Action is required by us as we move toward the life we choose to experience. And so it is with a brief summary of the 5 principles. Now, we do have a number of things that are going on that I need to share with our viewers and those who are present with us today at Unity of Charlotte. Our next town hall meeting, and I do want you all to note this, will be Sunday, November the 14th, after the service, both live and on Zoom. So if you're used to meeting with us on Zoom, you can participate in our next town hall meeting via Zoom as well. Of course, we'd love to see you. Fred's new class, The Principles of Unity, are on Fridays at 10 a.m., and it'll be live right here in our prayer room. So if you want to know more about the principles that I spoke of earlier, please plan to attend the Principles of Unity with Fred Monroe.
Please let me know if you're coming.
Fred would like to know if you're going to be present. So he's inviting you to let him know. There's a book club here that meets November the 21st. They have a monthly meeting. That is at 11:30 a.m. on Zoom. And all of our Zoom links will be found on our website, unityofcharlotte.org. And the discussion at this point is focused on Eric Butterworth's classic book, In the Flow. In the Flow. There's also on a weekly basis, Tuesday evenings, affirmative prayer. That is at 7:15. That is a Zoom gathering, and I have participated in those prayers and meditations, and I know they are good for all. The Path of Initiation is a Wednesday 1 p.m. Zoom link. So if you are interested in the book Path of Initiation, Barbara Rolfe, one of the members of our Board of Trustees, is facilitating those gatherings every Wednesday, 1 p.m. Zoom. The men's group, which is a useful group, very positive, they do great things. They meet in person here at the church on the second and fourth Wednesdays of the month at 9:30 a.m. And one of their faithful members has just returned from a trip to Portugal. So I trust that he'll be there to tell stories for the men's group. A Course in Miracles is a class that is facilitated by Alan Batten. These gather on Zoom every Thursday at 9:30 a.m. And I can tell you that Alan Batten has been immersed in Course of Miracles for quite some time. So if you really want some deep guidance and understanding, please consider joining Alan Batten on Zoom Thursdays for A Course in Miracles. All links, as I've said before, are on our website. And at this time, we are all going to say something together. We are going to practice what we preach. We do preach affirmation. So we have an affirmation for the new minister that we are drawing to our pulpit. And we like to share it together. So if you would join me, together we affirm that we are calling in and are ready to receive another wonderful minister who is heart-centered, wise, sincere, humorous, and collaborative, and who openly walks a spiritual path of love, growth, and service. And so it is. I do thank you all for participating in that affirmation. And at this time, it is my pleasure to invite someone to our pulpit. She is an ordained UU minister, Unitarian Universalist, and she has been a pastor before. I'm going to leave out all of these references to numbers, as in how many years she's been in ministry, stuff like that, And I'm going to move quickly to something that she and I share, though she will only hear this for the first time right now. I am also from Pennsylvania, Amy, and Amy grew up in rural Pennsylvania. So I know what the woods look like in Pennsylvania. I had traversed many miles in the woods, sometimes with my uncle, who was an avid hunter. He tried to teach me how to shoot squirrels. I missed everything every time. Thank God. I did not kill a squirrel, I promise you. I'm too crooked and nervous to do anything right. Our Reverend Amy Brooks, is fascinated by all religions. She's fascinated with cultural anthropology. She came to this particular ministry that she's going to share with you this morning by way of her heart. Her heart drew her to a ministry for the earth, the precious planet that sustains all the life we know. Her heart drew her there, and in her heart is assisting her to lead in appropriate ways. For Reverend Amy is one of the principal participants in an organization called Green Faith. And just two words together, greenfaith.org, and you will find out what you would like to know about Green Faith. It is an interfaith effort, and it is global. And I have had the pleasure of participating with Reverend Amy in some of our efforts. Not long ago, in fact, October 17 and 18, there were efforts on the part, demonstrations and rallies and services on the part of Green Faith congregations all over the globe. Maybe she'll share some of that with you. I have been able to look at the photographs of people on the continent of Africa, on the continent of India, in Canada, throughout the United States, and in South America and in Europe. All of those folks were in a coordinated effort demonstrating their support for a clean earth. That means an earth that is not spewing fossil fuels into the air or into the ground or into the waters. So she is part of a global leadership that is moving forward to help us do the right thing for the only planet that sustains all the life we know. And I am just totally delighted that she is a woman who is stepping forth, and her faith is carrying her forward. Reverend Amy Brooks.
Thank you so much, Lawrence. It's a delight to be here. I appreciate the invitation from you and Alan, and I'm very glad to be here with all of you this morning. So thank you for making the effort to come out in person or to join us on Zoom. It is good to be together. I want to contextualize this morning for us for just a moment before I get started. I received a text this morning from a colleague. She is in Glasgow, Scotland. And I don't know if we all know what is happening this couple of weeks in Glasgow, Scotland. If we're listening to news stations like NPR, it's nonstop. Today and for the next 2 weeks, just about, the UN Conference of Parties is gathering together global leaders of government, of finance, of industry to hash out our future. That's all. No. And she wrote me something that I want to share with you because I had no idea. I didn't really put the connection together that this was the Conference of Parties starting day when Lawrence asked me to speak. And so I thought it would be nice for us to contextualize ourselves in that, given my topics. This is from a Venezuelan woman who lives in South Florida, who is in Glasgow, and she writes, "So far, culturally, I have been impressed by Scots' playful culture. The beauty of the rain falling on autumn leaves, and the role of this place in the history of the Industrial Revolution. There is an unsettling feeling of being, quote, where everything started, end quote, and now to figure out how to change its destructive trend while finding beauty and hopeful signs along the way." Words this morning from the Reverend Dr. Nettie Estudillo of Venezuela. And now I would like to invite you into a prayer. It has been given a title, "Let Me Walk in Beauty," and it is by Chief Yellow Lark, a Sioux chief from the late 1900s, a time when our country was in great upheaval in many ways, including fighting Indigenous people and pushing them off their land. And this is what he wrote. So let us pray. O great Spirit, whose voice I hear in the winds, and whose breath gives life to all the world, hear me. I am small and weak. I need your strength and wisdom. Let me walk in beauty, and let my eyes ever behold the red and purple sunset. Make my hands respect the things you have made, and my ears grow sharp to hear your voice. Make me wise, so that I may understand the things you have taught my people. Let me learn the lessons you have hidden in every rock and leaf. I seek strength, not to be greater than my brother or sister, but to fight my greatest enemy, myself. Make me always ready to come to you with clean hands and straight eyes, so when life fades as the fading sunset, my spirit may come to you without shame. May it be so. Amen. I have been so taken with this reading lately. I find the language evocative and the sentiments resonant with what is happening today when it comes to our planetary situation. We are in need of a respectful relationship with this wondrous earth that gives us everything we need to live. We are in need of great strength to face ourselves, sometimes our own worst enemy. And we are in need of wisdom to face the challenges before us as we wrestle with a paradox of our own making, an energy system that has brought many opportunities, yes, but in the final assessment is leading to our own destruction. How do we do this? Brian Stevens, in his book, A Just Mercy, writes, if you want to understand something, you have to get proximate. In other words, you have to get close to the situation, to the people and the lives you are trying to understand. Stephen's own work focuses on the criminal justice system, particularly with those on death row. He visited dozens, maybe hundreds of people in jail and learned how some people, particularly people of color, were convicted because they didn't have the resources to properly defend themselves. Some of these people were even convicted of things they did not do. It seems hard to fathom how much corruption, ignorance, and fear have ruined the lives of so many people in our judicial system. And we might never have understood it so deeply if Stevens hadn't gotten proximate and written that book. Getting proximate changed the lives of the people Stevens defended, but it also changed his life, giving him a purpose and a focus that he continues to pursue some 20 years later. I am a Unitarian Universalist. And in our tradition, we understand ourselves to value deeply the natural world. Some of our most memorable and well-known UU leaders distinguished themselves by getting proximate to nature. If you heard of the names of Ralph Waldo Emerson or Henry David Thoreau, they spent a lot of time in nature. And their writings and the writings of the German and English romantics that influenced them shaped future generations to appreciate the beauty that we find in nature. Emerson met John Muir, for whom the Sierra Club took its inspiration. And Muir influenced President Theodore Roosevelt to create the national park system that protects beautiful places from development. So this is part of our legacy. We believe nature is a place to be appreciated, protected, and enjoyed. As Lawrence noted, many of us value opportunities to be in nature. Some of us will reminisce about our childhoods and playing outdoors. As adults, we like to take trips to appreciate natural wonders, and mountaintop and lakeside homes are highly desirable. In UU congregations, we like to put a priority on worship spaces that are connected to nature. We often do not have stained glass windows. Instead, we have clear panes of glass so we can look out, maybe if the minister is not engaging our attention enough, and enjoy the beautiful blue sky or the trees that we see out that window. We carry this passion as UUs into our social justice work. Of course, many other people of faith and traditions share these passions. UUs don't have a corner on appreciating the earth. So, given the ways that we humans delight in nature, how is it possible that we are now living on a planet that is so threatened by our actions? How is that possible? Perhaps one of the ways we can begin to understand this is to get proximate to the story that undergirds the world in which we live. That story is found in Genesis, the first chapter of the Hebrew Bible that Christians call the New Testament. And what does it say? Lawrence alluded to it earlier. God made everything and it was good. That's right. It was good. The animals were good. The trees were good. The water was good. The air was good. Were just people good? No. In this story, everything was good. But then, what happens? We hear the story of Adam and Eve. Adam and Eve were living in this beautiful garden. But in the story, they made a mistake. And they were punished. Not only did they get kicked out of the garden, but they are destined to toil on the land for their well-being. Now, Robin Wall Kimmerer, Indigenous American professor, botanist, and author, compares this story with the story of her people in her introduction to a book entitled Braiding Sweetgrass. In the creation story of her people, Sky Woman falls from the sky, clutching a bundle of seeds. She is caught by geese on their backs of feathers who bring her down gently to the water where a turtle offers up his back for her to stand upon. Then, with a bit of mud brought up from the great waters, Sky Woman dances and sings the earth into being. This land we stand on is known as Turtle Island. And then she plants the seeds that she brought with her, and they take root, and animals come, and people come, and live in this beautiful garden. Kimmer talks about this and compares the two stories in the introduction to her book. She says, same species, same earth, but a very different story. And she believes that stories shape our consciousness, words shape our consciousness. In one instance, you have a woman who is a co-creator with all the animals and all the beings and people, and she creates a world where people will live for generations in this beautiful garden with everything they need. And then the other story, you have a woman and a tree, and she makes a mistake, and people are thrown out of the garden where they walk, toiling through as an exile until they get to heaven. These are two very different stories. And I want to ask, what would the world look like if the story of Sky Woman, rather than the story of Eve, was the one that we had been taught? Now, I'm not saying there aren't strands of goodness in the story of Genesis. There are. In fact, I recently heard a Christian colleague, the Reverend Dr. Rodney Sadler, say that the God of the Hebrew Bible is the God of the green thumb. Sadly, though, this is not the part of the story that we seem to have held proximate. This summer, I had the opportunity to join the Treaty People gathering in northern Minnesota, where Native people are fighting for their sovereign treaty rights to hunt and fish and harvest the native wild rice that is central to their culture. They are fighting against a tar sands oil pipeline that has received permission to build a new pipeline through the land, destroying habitat, endangering water, and threatening yet again the life ways of Indigenous people. Spending even a few days in the presence of First Nations people was a profound experience. We had multiple sessions where Native people stood up and told us their stories. And each time I was moved by the level of integration and relationship between people and the earth. Every tree, every animal, the land, the water, the air is endowed with living spirit. Sit, listen, feel the connection, and deepen the relationship. Look with new eyes on that tree. It is our grandparent. On that lake, that creature, that flower. They are our siblings. The teachers spoke quietly, slowly, giving us time to listen, to feel, to absorb. On one level, the story they taught was familiar. I knew what they were telling me in my head. But to hear them talk about it, about the place of honor that rice and the natural world hold in their culture, their rituals, their daily lives, was deeply moving to my heart. One teaching in particular resonated with me, and I'd like to share it with you. It was given to us by great-grandmother Mary Lyons, Ojibwe elder and water protector. She reminded us, as white people, because most of the people there were white, that we had come here from another place, a place with land and customs and rituals, and that in coming here, we had lost many things. She said it this way: when you come forth, please don't say, I'm just a white person. Sing your ancestors' songs. say, my grandparents were from. And the rhythm goes from there. You never say, I am. You say, my grandparents are from. We lived here. Because the crazy thing is, and people don't realize that what happened to us indigenous people on these lands also happened to your family. Otherwise, you'd be home. You could hear the sigh of understanding in the crowd. She invited us to think about what we have lost and how that experience of loss might help us to have compassion for the situation Indigenous people face now. She ended on this note: the storybooks leave something out. This story is not in those books. We aren't fighting to get into your history. Instead, you are coming into our story, this history. To see ourselves stepping into this much older story is a fundamental shift in thinking. In this story, we are no longer protagonists of white people civilizing the world, creating a city on a hill or a new world from sea to shining sea. We are stepping into an old story of relationships. So, what can we learn by getting proximate to a culture and a people that have lived here for more than 10,000 years? Perhaps we could start by learning how to listen to the earth and hear that trees and water are not simply things to be either exploited or protected, but living beings to be lived among, honored, and respected. Perhaps we can listen to each other and understand the values we share, as well as the common experience of loss, so that we might be more compassionate with one another. Perhaps by listening, we can reframe the stories we tell, because words matter. Words become flesh. The concrete realities we are creating, first with our minds, then with our words, and then with our actions. I didn't realize until Lawrence went over the principles how much this might resonate with unity. I would not have understood that in this way if I had not gotten proximate, to hear her words, to listen, as Larkin says, with sharp ears, to a story about a way of being in the world that I was not taught. So this morning, I want to invite us to get proximate to the earth and to listen to what she might be saying to us. Maybe it means sitting quietly each morning on our porch or deck to listen to the birds sing and to say thank you to the birds. Maybe if we are lucky, we get to sit next to a brook or an ocean and appreciate the sound of water, but let us not forget to also protect that water and give thanks for that water. It might mean taking time to plant something and give back to the earth what she has so generously offered us. Now, these are all delightful images, often accompanied by pleasurable sounds, right? Our listening in places like this is designed to soothe, rejuvenate, to bring peace and a sense of connection. And wouldn't it be grand if this was what all our days were like? Humans living in harmony with the earth and appreciating its gifts. I believe that our days could be more like this, but in order to create it, we must also listen to the earth, not on just her good days, when the sun is shining and the lake is rippling and the fish are jumping, but on her not so good days, when the trees crash, the land cracks, and life is choking on plastic. These sounds are hard to listen to, and maybe why we like to create little oases of protected beauty so that we can retreat from the harm and the hurt that is happening all around us. I suggest that as Brian Stevens so humbly and elegantly taught us, if we get proximate to the suffering around us, it will teach us, it will guide us, it will change us. Indeed, in the Christian liberation theologies of Latin America and the Black church, we cannot begin to understand what Jesus was talking about if we don't get proximate to the suffering that people bear. By extension, I do not think we will become free of the oppressive systems of fossil fuel unless we allow ourselves to get proximate to what is happening to the earth. I suggest that if we get proximate, we will learn to face the truth about what is feeding this destruction. And we will find the compassion, empathy, and courage to set a different course. I think if we are honest with ourselves, we will find the strength to change how we live our daily lives that is more in keeping with our stated values of respect and interdependence. Chief Yellowlark's words invite us to listen to the earth, to the voice of the Great Spirit sighing in the trees, and to learn the lessons of earth and to walk in beauty. Imagine how good it would feel to walk in beauty each day, carrying with us our sense of connection to each other, but also to each rock and leaf. Because if we truly felt this way, would it not become impossible to treat the earth the way we do? Maybe we have lost our way, but that does not mean we can't find our way back. I'd like to close with some invitations. The first is to get proximate. Listen to the earth. Let's sharpen our ears all around us. The earth is crying out, asking that we honor the place of each being that has been gifted to live in this beautiful garden home we share. And there is no shortages of messages out there from indigenous leaders to climate scientists about what is happening, if only we have the ears to hear. And the second is to figure out what we're going to do about it. 4 years ago, I was overwhelmed and in despair about what we are facing. It was the first year of those terrible wildfires in California. Suddenly, what had felt distant and theoretical came close and real. I didn't know what to do, and that in itself was terrifying. A few months later, I received a call asking me to come to do some work with Green Faith. I'll be honest, I didn't really know what I was getting into. But I said yes, because I knew that I had to do something to put my faith into action for the good of my daughter's future and for the future of this stunningly beautiful place we call home. Friends, if you need a call, this is it. The earth is calling us. Animals, water, land, and air are all calling us. The indigenous people from Kenya to Fiji to Minnesota are calling us. Our youth and our future generations are calling us. Friends, let us join together and create the greatest movement the world has ever seen. Let us join together and ask for an accounting of the decisions being made in the halls of power that do not tell the whole story about the terrible cost we are paying and will continue to pay if we do not change how we treat each other and how we live on this good earth. Because, my friends, there is not enough money in the world or in my 401k to purchase the delicate balance that makes life possible in this garden. No money can buy the red or purple sunset or the opportunity to walk in beauty. And that, my friends, is my greatest hope, that we will all learn to walk in the ways of beauty, now and always. May it be so. Amen.
Thank you so much, Reverend Amy. That was a beautiful message. Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes. Well, I'll just confess to one little thing. Patricia, our music director, had chosen a song for this morning, and Reverend Amy, it would have been perfect, but the choir couldn't actually get it together. The song was "For the Beauty of the Earth." She said beauty a whole lot more times than she said listen. And I mean, I'm just like saying to myself, boy, did we need to get that song right. It's a lovely song. We've sung it before, but this morning we were like, whoa. So, well, let us move on. This was a great message, Reverend Amy, about activating our faith as you have. You activated your faith, and you are now in a position to help lead an effort across the globe to fix the problems that we as humans have created. And I trust that there were welcoming ears on Zoom, on YouTube, and here at 401 East Arrowwood. I trust some people received these words, welcoming them to activate their faith. Your compassion and your love will activate your faith and allow you to stand forth. Maybe you don't have answers. I don't have answers, but I've activated my faith to join warriors, braves, and other people of courage who are willing to really begin putting their lives on the line to rescue our home. That's what the message was all about. As you know, we are going to shortly pass the basket. Let me just say a few things to our Zoom audience and those of you who are present. We are definitely dependent upon your contributions so that we can continue acknowledging the beauty of the earth and the goodness of God in all creation. You may mail a check to us at 401 East Arrowwood Road, Charlotte 28217. You may simply choose to use your phone or computer to make your offering by going to Unity of Charlotte and following the directions that are there. So right now, I'm inviting you to hold whatever you are planning to share in your hands and share our prosperity blessing with us. So I will ask those present here at Unity of Charlotte to repeat with me. Joyously, I give this gift, knowing that the divine presence blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us, and the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.